Everyone, it's Jurgen Jays, and welcome to a deep dive. Uh, Before we begin, and I more formally introduce the topic for today, my voice is a little messed up, as you may notice, or maybe it's not that noticeable, but my voice is a little messed up, so if I sound different, that's why. Uh, this will happen from time to time, where I just get kind of really mad. I'm just kind of mad with life. But that's neither here nor there. And I was I've told this to a teacher, like a coworker of mine, and he was like, "Oh, that's completely normal." So it's at least encouraged me to keep doing it and not feel super weird or bad about it. But whenever I get really mad or feel a lot of tension and need to release it, if I'm driving around in my car, I will just scream. So, uh, and it's just like a quick little release of tension. And I did so last night, and I completely shot my voice out in the process of doing so. So I'm a little raspy. I was actually fully intending to play more of and record more of Fate today, but I can't do like any kind of higher pitch voices right now, or else my voice will just crack and break. So I thought that wouldn't do so well. So here we are, doing a deep dive, specifically uh, doing a deep dive revolving around Apothecary Diaries, and with that, I want to look into today and research and explore the world of like Eastern medicine and Eastern apothecaries. Uh, Specifically, hopefully, being able to look at China mostly, since Apothecary Diaries is very like the culture that is in the show is not explicitly China. It is a fictional world, a fictional country, the country being called Li, but um, it is very heavily inspired by uh, China in the 1500s and also some like Japanese influences and stuff like that. So, not just exclusive to China. So, just looking at the development of medicine, apothecaries in the East, maybe some of the differences between development of the East and the West, and all that jazz, and maybe seeing what the show maybe got right, maybe what it got wrong, looking into um, maybe some cool little moments that maybe make more sense with some of this information in mind. So I found this page on kind of the, as it says up here, development of traditional Chinese medicine. So as per fashion, as in my last deep dive, which if you didn't watch, it was about Kyudo, the uh, archery martial art of Japan and its development over in history. You can go look at that video if you're interested. But anyway, let's go ahead and read through this. I'll read through it and then we'll maybe discuss, or I'll discuss it as I read through, just as things strike my fancy. So this abstract, similar to other medicines, traditional Chinese medicine originated from the need for various practical solutions to treat diseases. It is a knowledge system summarized and condensed by the Chinese nation in the healthcare practice for thousands of years. TCM continues to serve the healthcare system. What is TCM? Oh, traditional Chinese medicine. This study summarizes the history, health concept, and main treatment strategies and methods, current development, and future perspectives of TCM. It may provide a more comprehensive image of the overall TCM system. Okay. Definition. Traditional Chinese medicine is a medical knowledge system invented by the Chinese people. I wonder why. Kind of in the name. All right. It is a practice defined by the holistic concept of harmony between man and nature. Thus, it encompasses image information, cognitive activity, from the perspective of attribute and relationship, use of the natural resources inside and outside of the body, and regulation and balancing of the human health state. So I did, just because I looked into, I read this little bit of this AI prompted thing when I searched the difference between East and West. But Eastern medicine has, as this is pointing out, it is more based around kind of this philosophy of balance, and also thinking too about um, more natural approaches, like using herbalism, like the medicines used in Chinese medicine and apothecaries, or more like grounded out herbs, combinations of those things rather than something that is like processed in a lab, or you know, it's more natural. I kind of hate when people say, "Oh, you're putting a chemical in your body," either referring to medicine or, in my case, energy drinks. That's a whole another argument, but it's just like, well, everything's chemicals. Like everything is a part of chemistry. All those different elements and stuff are those are all chemicals. I mean, are certain chemicals harmful for you? Absolutely. But I hate the argument when people are like, well, that's just chemicals that we put. I hate when they use that language, because it's like, well, anything you put in your body is a chemical. What you're saying is it wouldn't be a natural product, um, from, like, directly from the environment around you that you are putting in your body. Like there's some process that humans put it through, and even then, stuff like bread, arguably, is like, well, bread doesn't just naturally occur. Bread has a practice, or a process uh, put into it that causes a result. Are we putting some harmful thing into our body with bread? You know, um, something that's just a good, quick, easy way of producing carbs, and was sustainable for cultures for many, many, many years throughout history, and is still like a big backbone to diet today. Is that terrible and awful for you? I mean, yes, if you're excessively eating it, but freaking excessively eat lettuce, and you'd explode, because you'd eventually just eat so much lettuce that your stomach would just give out on you. That's not scientifically accurate. That's just exaggerating. But you get what I mean. Too much of anything is a bad thing. I don't like the whole chemical thing. Anyway, let's go back to this. Let's go back to Chinese medicine. Recognition of human body, TCM introduces various philosophical concepts, such as qi, yin and yang. I know yin and yang is like a concept that is like very, very deeply historical and rooted, like even before like Confucius thought, and like Taoist thought were a thing. Like yin and yang was even before that, and it's just kind of an all-pervasive philosophy. I don't know if in the West, if we have anything quite like yin and yang. I don't know what qi is. Define qi. Like chi? Circulating life force whose existence and properties are the basis of much of Chinese philosophy and medicine. So I think that is qi, maybe. Because usually you see qi, well, I'm thinking like Chinese media, they type it out like this, qi. Refer to a Chinese philosophy, medicine representing vital life force or energy. Second, 22nd letter of the Greek alphabet, or an acronym for various organizations. What? Okay, that went down a different. Yeah, I think it's the same thing, just typed out differently. Yin and Yang, 5 elements. These are those philosophical concepts we're basing off of to understand the viscera. What? Figure 1. This thing? Viscera is considered a functional system instead of an anatomic entity and is defined by the unique theory of Zhao Zhang Fu, theory of Zhang Fu organs. The 5 Zhang organs of liver, heart, spleen, lung, kidney, the 6 organs of the gallbladder, small intestine, stomach, large intestine, bladder, and the triple energizer. Triple energizer? What the frick is the triple energizer? Defined as a concept in Chinese medicine that refers to this physiological functions of 3 distinct areas of the trunk who are interconnected and essential. Trunk? What do you mean trunk? What trunk? Like you got junk in the trunk? That trunk? Which are interconnected and essential for the circulation of qi, blood, and body fluids. It encompasses the upper jiao, lungs, and heart, middle jiao, spleen, and stomach, and lower jiao. Okay, so these are like larger groupings of these organs already listed, each with a specific physiological role. Okay, 12 meridians and hundreds of acupoints, right? Acupuncture coming from Chinese medicine as well. And TCM do not refer to the anatomical physical organs, but to a system of human physiological functions based on the human physiology and attributes of the human body. So these elements are wood, fire, earth, metal, water. I know to some degree, I mean, if you look at even a lot of Japanese media now or Japanese derivative media, Avatar, comes to mind. Fire, earth, wind, like these kind of like core elements. Naruto, what is it? Naruto is water, fire, earth, lightning, or no, wind. Is lightning one? Lightning might be one. I don't remember, but like you see it a lot. These kind of like core elements, and then branching off of that, you get some kind of power system loosely revolving around that idea. Diagram interactions between the 5 elements. So this, and I don't know why the arrows point where they are. Maybe this will explain. The generative cycle is illustrated by gray arrows directed clockwise on the outside of the circle, while the destructive or conquering circle is represented by red arrows inside the circle. So, okay, let's take an example. Wood, wait, I don't know. Wood plus fire is earth, and fire plus earth is metal. Oh, that kind of makes sense. Water, or metal plus water is wood. Well, that doesn't make sense anymore. Water plus wood is fire. No, that doesn't make sense. And then destructive. So wood destroys earth. Maybe. Oh, I guess like roots dig into the earth. Metal destroys wood. Take a hatchet. Fire destroys metal, right? Fire can burn it down. Surprised fire doesn't destroy wood. It literally burns it. Water destroys fire. Fire destroys metal. Metal destroys wood. Wood destroys earth. Earth destroys water. I'm still not sure about this generative. Oh, water generates wood. Wood generates fire. Not wood plus fire equals earth. Wood generates fire. Fire generates earth. Earth generates metal. Metal generates water. I don't get the metal generating water. That's a little bit of a disconnect for me, but that's kind of the core of this elemental philosophy. Diagnostic methods of TCM. In TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, human body assessment is performed using 4 diagnostic methods: inspection, auscultation, what? Auscultation, defined as the gross assessment of the lungs, used to determine specific therapeutic techniques where abnormal breath sounds can indicate conditions such as retained secretions or that thing. guiding subsequent interventions. So a lung inspection and a olfaction sensation of smell resulting from the detection of odorous substances in the environment. It allows humans to detect over 10,000 different odors. Hazard detect. Okay, so basically they taste. They make sure the lungs are good. If you're breathing okay, and then if you got pus coming out of you, I guess they taste it and smell it, and then they figure things out from there. Inquiry, and pulse taking and palpitation, palpation, not palpitation. Palpatine. Inspection refers to purposefully observing the external situation of the human body to understand the health status and detect an illness. In contrast, auscultation and olfaction, I can't say these words, forgive me, include listening and smelling. Doctors obtain diagnostic information through patients' voices, breath, cough, sneeze, vomit, sigh, gastrointestinal, peristalsis, and other sounds. Olfaction helps to judge the patient condition from the smell of the body and excreta, etc. Is that what that's supposed to be? Such as perspiration, urine, excrement. Regarding inquiry, okay, so they check breathing, check that they're not, giving off weird smells and tastes. Pulse taking. So, and then measuring pulse. Okay. Traditional. This is kind of the more apothecary stuff that I'm more. I mean, not that this wasn't interesting. I actually found all of this very interesting, but this is kind of medicinal practice. This is herbs. Is a little bit more into the apothecary side of things. TCM is nope. Yep. Okay, we're on the right spot. Never mind. TCM is used to prevent, diagnose, and treat diseases. It involves rehabilitation and healthcare following TCM theory. TCM is mainly derived from natural medicine and its processed products, including herbal, animal, and mineral medicine, and chemical and biological products. TCM is the most common treatment in traditional medicine in China. Among its key characteristics, the unique property theory mainly includes the 4 qi, 4 natures of drugs, 5 flavors of drugs, meridian entry, and ascending and descending, floating and sinking of medicinal action. This theory emerged from the treatment of specific diseases using drugs, guided by basic TCM theory, following the theory of Zhangfu organs and meridians using. Okay, so basically, a lot of trial and error resulted in this 4 qi, nature, and 5 flavors of drugs. I'm very curious about that. Compatibility and compound. I'm just looking through and seeing if any more of this article is what I'm really interested in. I definitely want to look at. I feel like that's not really. This isn't acupuncture. Isn't really apothecary. It's more just medicinal. I'm gonna try to stick to more apothecary type stuff since we are loosely going off of, or the inspiration from this comes from Apothecary Diaries. Okay, so we have the 4 qi and 5 flavors. Okay. And this was for Chinese herbs. Okay, apothecary or Chinese apothecary or 4 cheese. Is that what it was? 4 cheese? 4 chi. 4 vital substances. refer to the four energetic natures of food and herbs: cold, cool, warm, and hot. These, what are cold, cool? Oh, you're just saying like cold would be your coldest, cool is step above, and then we slowly progress up to hot. These properties, along with the five flavors, okay, that's the other thing: sour, bitter, sweet, pungent, salty, are used to classify substances and guide therapeutic recommendations to achieve balance in the body. A skilled practitioner uses this system to choose appropriate remedies and dietary adjustments for a patient's specific condition. Um, okay, so I guess then the question becomes, like, in what situation do you give someone a sour flavor or a bitter flavor? Like, if they have a cough, oh, we got to give them the salty stuff. Like, I don't know. I just was making that up. But just how would someone know what to give? Or, like, I would imagine it would be a combination. So you would give, like, a cold, pungent thing or a warm, sweet thing or whatever that is. Some kind of combination of those two. But what's the process behind choosing that? What's the process? Um, use 4 chi and 5 flavor to select a scientifically uh Herald Scholarly. Okay, maybe this is something. How to use traditional Chinese medicine principles to choose a diet for your pet. That's not where I thought that was gonna go, but that's interesting. Um how did apothecaries use the 4 chi and 5 flavors to create medicine? Yes, application. Apothecaries use the system to balance a patient's internal temperature. If a patient exhibited cold symptoms, chills, pale complexion, warm or hot herbs would be prescribed to restore balance. So that's it's more of that, going back to philosophy behind these things, kind of that yin and yang idea of restoring balance. So we're using the chi, these 4 chi kind of elements, to do that. Okay, and then more along the lines of flavor, or wait, no, I didn't finish reading this up here. Cold symptoms. Cold symptoms included chills, pale complexion, warm or hot herbs would be prescribed to restore balance. Ginger, for example. Conversely, cold or cool herbs, watermelon, mint, were used to treat hot conditions such as fever and inflammation. I wonder if there is any actual. I mean, I guess for them to have kept on doing it for years and years and years, there might have been some success. But granted, there's many things that we did wrong in medicine for many, many years. Case in point, this is in Western medicine. If you're thinking about the bubonic plague or the Black Plague, plague doctors used to have this idea of good blood and bad blood. So to get rid of bad blood, they would lance you. So they would just stab you and release in like whatever your sore spot was, and then release the bad blood, quote unquote. And what they were just causing was excessive blood loss. So this could have been wrong, but who knows if these practices still hold up today. Maybe that's how does, we're not going to look at this yet. How does TCM affect modern Eastern medicine? We'll look into that here in a moment. Okay, this is what I'm really curious about, these different flavors and their effects. 5 flavors: pungent, sour, sweet, bitter, and salty, describe not only the actual taste, but more importantly, the specific therapeutic actions in the internal organ systems and affects. So pungent, the effect of it would be it disperses, it moves energy or chi and blood, induces perspiration, so it causes sweating, uh, and it was associated with the lungs and large intestine, used to treat the common cold by releasing the surface and expelling pathogens. I'm not entirely following there. Why would okay? I can kind of see the logic behind pungent equals dispersion, moves energy. Like I don't know how to describe that, like why that connection there, but it makes sense to me. That this is the thing that is moving the energy. It's pungent, sending forth energy into the body. Um, then we have sour, uh, astringes or gathers and preserves fluids, so collects tightens, so kind of does the opposite of pungent. That kind of makes sense. Like if you pucker your mouth when you eat, or your mouth puckers when you eat a sour thing, like squelches up, like gathers, tightens together. This was considered for the liver and gallbladder, used to control excessive perspiration, diarrhea, or leakage of fluids. So if you had diarrhea, here's a lemon or, citrus fruit or something. Okay. Sweet tonifies, strengthens, supplements, harmonizes, relaxes, and moistens. Okay. This spleen and stomach. I don't know. When I don't really, when my stomach is hurting me, I don't really think I want something sweet. Uh, that kind of usually makes me feel more upset, but who knows? Used to address fatigue, weakness, and support digestive system. Yeah, that makes sense with the digestive system if you're associating it with stomach. Whoa, I don't know what I just clicked on. What did I just click on? Explain this. You can do that? I didn't know. Okay. Yeah, tell me what a stomach is. Uh, I know what a stomach is. Bitter. This effect would be purges, dries, clear. So kind of the opposite of sweet. Sweet and bitter, obviously. These contrast. Purges, dries, clears, heat, facilitates downward movement. Facilitates downward movement. What do you mean by downward movement? Like maybe facilitates chi in a downward motion? Like you're trying to expel something, so trying to get someone to poop something out or pee something out, maybe? Used to treat, yep, used to treat constipation or inflammation. It was used for heart and small intestine. And then we have salty, which softens hardness, masses or modules, also guides downward, and moistens. I don't get the logic behind that one. Kidney and bladder, used to break up phlegm, soften masses, or promote bowel movement. So bitter and salty seem like they kind of go hand in hand. I don't know what made them super. I mean, just from reading this, I don't know what made them super distinct from each other than the idea of, well, I guess salty softening something. But I guess I'm just getting focused on this guiding downward thing. But this softens, if we think of it as a softener, and then bitter is a purge, right? Softening versus purging. Medicine formulation. Apothecaries created balance formulas by diagnosing the imbalance, identifying whether the patient had an excess of hot or cold, and which organ systems were affected using pulse and tongue diagnosis. We kind of talked a little bit about that when we looked at overall traditional Chinese medicine. Selecting the appropriate herbs, choosing herbs with the specific qi and flavors needed to counteract the imbalance, bitter and cold, herb to treat a hot and damp condition. Okay. All right. Makes sense. Balancing the formula, combining multiple herbs with different properties to achieve a synergistic effect addresses various symptoms and avoid potential side effects from a single dominant flavor or nature. So you don't want to overpower, basically. You always are looking to achieve balance. Considering the season, adjusting formulations based on the time of year to align with the body's needs in the changing season. So, like, if it's summer and you're dealing with a symptom like chills or cold or something like that, you would not need to be given as much hot or warm medicine, or maybe you would only be given warm medicine instead of hot medicine, since the weather is kind of doing the rest of the work, so to speak. This is a really interesting. I want to know, before we get into how it affects the modern day, I want to know how. Oh, give me a second here. I forgot my wording. Oh, how, like, effective was this? I guess how effective this would affect if we're still using it, or if the Eastern, medicine is still using this. How effective was medicine made from 4 qi and 5 flavors? Clinical theories were not abstract, right? They were based on observation, guidance, modern scientific perspective. From a modern evidence-based medicine perspective, the effectiveness of specific TCM treatments based purely on the 4 qi and 5 flavors theory is currently difficult to quantify with scientific certainty due to the complexity of the herbal mixtures and the lack of high-quality, large-scale, randomized clinical trials that meet current scientific standards. Promising evidence, but inconclusive. Some studies have found promising, though often low-quality, evidence for certain Chinese herbal medicines for specific conditions, such as relieving painful menstruation or treating acute pancreatitis. Focus on chemical bases. Modern research is actively working to identify the specific chemical components that correspond to the traditional natures and flavors and their pharmacological actions. Studies have shown that specific organic compounds, e.g., certain terpenes, flavonoids, no clue what that is, can be statistically correlated with a herb's bitter or pungent flavor and its observed effects, providing a potential bridge between the traditional theory and modern pharmacology. Statistically correlated with I know, I'm just rereading. That didn't make sense to me. Statistically correlated with the herb's bitter or pungent flavor and its observed effects. Methodological challenges. A major challenge is that traditional practice emphasizes individualized treatment based on a patient's unique syndrome, which is difficult to standardize for modern clinical trials that typically test a single standardized intervention. Okay, like, because the methodology of the traditional side of things was so specific to the individual, it's really hard to replicate on a large scale. The bits that they've been able to replicate, this is kind of just in summary, are they're not effective, but they're not greatly effective. In summary, the medicine was highly effective within its own robust, long-standing theoretical framework. But its effectiveness is still being evaluated and characterized through modern scientific beliefs to meet contemporary standards of evidence-based medicine. Yeah, it's really interesting how like the philosophy kind of and just general Eastern thought, well, I guess the philosophy, yeah, kind of created this four chi five flavors thing and this whole search for balance. Um, and even more so, like it is purely like it is logical observations, but at the same time, some of these ideas are a little far fetched, and it's just like yes, to a degree. I think I agree. Sometimes some of this stuff genuinely works. Like, I think we still, to this day, do this. You have a sore throat, you feel chills, you're feverish, you go and you drink warm tea with honey, right? To soften, or not soften because it's not salty, but like to soothe your throat, warm yourself up, right? So even in the West, this boy who lives in Georgia, I can see where they're coming from and what the thought was behind this. Okay, um, relationship between introduction, the part that is consistent with modern medicine. This is kind of what I want to know. Okay, this is looking at what are we taking from the tradition and what is it now being used for. In the 16th century, what is now known as Western medicine was introduced to China, but was not commonly used and thus had little effect. It was not until the Opium War that Western medicine began to develop in China. Therefore, prior to the event, traditional Chinese medicine was always the leading force of medical care in China. The key to successful medicine and its efficacy, a popular Chinese saying states, excellence is from experience. The foundation of traditional Chinese medicine is based on 5,000 years of practice and experiences. With the founding of a new China in 1949, Western medicine in the region also began to play a large role in medical care. As modern Westernized medicine's impact increased, it led to the development of integrative medicine. At the end of the 1950s, theories, therapeutic principles, technologies, and understanding of the life sciences were elaborated, and the basic structure of traditional Chinese medicine also became clear. Most importantly, traditional Chinese medicine began to reach a common point with modern medicine. Wait, let me reread that. Most importantly, traditional Chinese medicine began to reach a common point with modern medicine. What is that common point? Consensus. For example, okay, here, if you would just shut up and keep reading. For example, the essence of kidney is a core concept of traditional Chinese medical theory. Studies by Shin showed that kidney deficiency syndrome is equivalent to the aging in modern Edison. Regardless of its external performance and internal changes, studies by Chen et al. Showed that what is known as heart qi deficiency is associated with cardiac insufficiency in modern medicine. So, like, the root of the problem, we're just putting a different title on it. Consistence on inspection. So checking for pulse, breath, palpation, not palpitation. Consensus on several treatments. Therapeutic studies show that Chinese medicine and modern medicine have reached a consensus on the methods of diaphoresis, purging, vomiting, warming, clearing, neutralizing, eliminating, and reinforcing. 8 commonly used treatments in traditional Chinese medicine. For instance, the reinforcing method is able to improve neuroendocrine regulatory function, enhance the body's ability to combat stress, adjust immune function, and improve the body's systemic function. diaphoresis is able to promote perspiration and deferescence, as well as play a role in reducing inflammation, among other methods adopted by modern medicine. So actually, there's still some effectiveness to some of this stuff. Formula. This is interesting. Several ancient herbal formulas that form consensus with modern medicine. So we have ginseng, a ginseng concoction. So we got 20, 30 grams of this stuff. The function at the time was invigorating qi to prevent prostration. It is seen, and then the application, seen after hemorrhage, ulcer, and sore. Those who get qi and blood deficiency, pale complexion, aversion to cold with fever, cold limbs, spontaneous sweating or cold sweating, and faint pulse catch this kind of disease. And then again, just kind of the observation is still the same. I don't know if the how we fix the issue, I guess, is the different thing, but just the consensus is how we're identifying the problem, what we're saying the problem is, and then now the difference is how the process of which we're going to take care of this. Okay. Any of this other stuff? Differences between East and West. I am interested in seeing that. Differences between East and West. All the other tabs, you may have, I'll probably edit out me just silently closing out of all of them. But all of those other tabs, some of it was stuff that I thought I could get into, but it had more so to do with the role of how did apothecary, the need of it come to be? How did that position come to be? Which might be interesting, but I'm a little bit more interested right now in the kind of medicinal practices of the apothecary and less so how said practices and role came to be. So I'm the final thing that I really want to look into is differences between the history of medicinal development between East and West. So basically, how did the East get theirs, which we've already seen kind of through this philosophy and a little bit more logical observation. And then we'll look into the West and how they developed this, okay? Main difference. Eastern medicine developed from holistic balance-focused practices like traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda. I don't know that term. What is Ayurveda? Traditional Indian medicine system. Okay. So we have TCM, and then there's also Indian stuff as well. We're not going to get into that. I just wanted to focus more on the Chinese aspect, because once again, Apothecary Diaries. Emphasizing the body's Western medicine, however, has a history rooted in ancient Greek rationalism and evolved into a modern, evidence-based system focused on identifying and treating specific diseases with tools like synthetic drugs, surgery, and diagnostic technology following the scientific method, which scientific method really, really largely developed by Aristotle. He developed a lot of, most people think that he was just a philosopher, and he was, but he was also made some really, really good systems for us for scientific process, such as scientific method. He also developed the whole kingdom phylum, classification of species. He came up with that. I don't know if that's necessarily his version of it is what we use today, but he at least pioneered those things. So we have him to thank for this. Roots developed, Eastern medicinal development roots were developed from herbalist and holistic systems in ancient China and India, with roots over 2,000 years old. Again, main philosophy is a balance of these chi. Emphasize methodology. We emphasize the inductive method and relies on a holistic view of the body. All right, so considering all the systems at once, and then our treatment is restoring that balance. Whether that is herbal medicine, as we've really looked at and delved into, acupuncture, massage, dietary changes, something holistic, right? And then we have Western. Western bases its roots in Greek and Roman rational medicine, and then its most modern form coming from the age of enlightenment, that scientific revolution of the 17th century, with the core philosophy being treating specific diseases and symptoms by identifying it and then targeting pathogens or physiological malfunctions. So this is looking, it seems, a little bit more individualistically instead of holistically. And the methodology, deductive approach and evidence-based analytical methods, strong reliance on scientific evidence and powerful diagnostic tools. Treatments relies on interventions like pharmaceuticals, surgery, vaccines, and other modern technologies. My personal opinion on, because I think in the West, granted, I can only speak for American culture, but in the West, it seems like, oh, here's a pill, it'll fix that. Like, we're very quick to go to the quick fix, which is great that we have those quick fixes, but I think it would be better, not for any sort of moral reason. I just think if, for instance, and this was an issue I had, if, for instance, I'm a side sleeper, I sleep on my side. So for a very long time, my pillow was too low, right? So I wasn't getting the neck support I needed. And I was getting these really awful headaches and shoulder pain and neck pain and all of that for a really long time. I still occasionally will get that if I sleep funky. I mean, everybody gets that if they sleep funky, right? But I didn't know that. So I just thought, oh, it's just terrible and awful, right? And then I've started seeing chiropractor over the past couple years, I think, approaching 2 years. And it's helped, and it's this very like holistic approach to medicine. Now, is the chiropractor like the quick fix always going to make it better? No. But it is the more holistic approach. And then also too, just me getting a better pillow to support myself. I think it was better for me to find a holistic solution first, or search it out at the very least, which was as simple as just getting a taller pillow or stacking pillows or whatever the case may be, versus like, getting addicted to an over-the-counter pharmaceutical like ibuprofen or something because I just need 2 to 3 pills of it every single day in order for me to function, right? So I think both of these systems, both of these philosophies behind these medicines, they both have their place. They definitely both have their place. In the role of apothecary, it's kind of interesting. I don't really, maybe if I were to rewatch the show, I really don't see this use of like the 4 chi, 5 flavors idea. I just see, usually if she's treating someone or like making a medicine, it's just like, oh, I gotta make the medicine. Oh, that's a really good herb. I really want that herb. There's not a lot of in-depth like, oh, there's chills, I need this because it's warm. And I could just be misremembering because I've watched this show over the course of a few months and some other shows and different things in between. So very slow watching through it. But even the like season 2, like 2/3 of season 2, I got through very quickly, and I don't remember any of that. So maybe something the show could have done or the author could have done is look into some of this stuff and make it a little bit more grounded. Not at all, does not need to. It is a great show. I love this show. But could be a very interesting angle that the author could have taken for it. I think that is where I'm going to end this deep dive. I really appreciate you for tagging me along, or not tagging me along, but for you tagging along as I kind of go through this. This was really, really, really interesting for me. I mean, I really liked doing the Kudo deep dive with Fate. This was really, really interesting to me, and I feel like we really, with Kudo, I felt like we really got like the whole picture, or most of the picture. This I feel like we could go back here and we could keep digging, and we could like get into the weeds of this very, very easily. But I just want to do a very general overview of this stuff whenever I do one of these. Maybe, well, I guess sometimes if I want to be more specific, I can be. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. If there's anything else from the Apothecary Diaries that you'd be interested in, me looking into the history behind it, looking into, like we did today, kind of just the specific function, apothecary, and medicine, any of that, I would be really interested to keep on doing these deep dives with different media that I consume, like whether that's games, anime, whatever. I think this is a really interesting idea, and it's also really enjoyable for me to do these. They're very low energy, low effort, but I also find them, personally for me, very entertaining to make. So I hope you guys enjoy it as well, and just keep on giving me ideas for these things. All right. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care of yourselves now. Bye.